Hello there. My name is Ducky, and tonight I'll be your storyteller. There's a soft fire burning nearby. Listen closely and you can almost hear it. Each spark that rises and fades is a whisper from the past, a tiny echo from another time. The light dances gently across the walls, never too bright, never too loud, just warm enough to hold the night at bay. You've had a long day, the kind of day where thoughts linger too long, where lists and worries refuse to fade. But for now, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to move or think or try. You only have to listen and let history do the drifting for you. Because history isn't always about battles or kings. Sometimes it's about quiet rooms like this one. Rooms where people once sat and dreamed and wondered about tomorrow. And tonight we'll visit them. Slowly, softly. The candle maker of Florence. It was the year 1468, in the heart of Florence, where the smell of melting wax mingled with the fragrance of bread rising from nearby bakeries. At a narrow corner on Via dei Servi stood a modest shop, its windows glowing gold even as dusk fell. Inside, an old man named Pietro stirred a pot of honey-colored wax. He had made candles for 40 years, each one by hand. Some were tall and elegant, sent to the grand cathedrals where choirs sang beneath vaulted ceilings. Others were small and uneven, meant for students hunched over parchment deep into the night. Pietro's hands were slow now, not from age alone, but from memory. Every candle he made reminded him of the ones he had shaped in his youth, when the world felt wider, and Florence buzzed with ideas that would later be called the Renaissance. He remembered a boy who once came to his shop, a curious child with ink-stained fingers. The boy would ask endless questions about how wax could hold light, how fire could dance but never be caught. Pietro never knew that boy's name, but years later he would learn that the child grew up to be Leonardo da Vinci. Pietro didn't think much of it. To him, everyone deserved light, artist or servant, scholar or soldier. He once said, "Candles are the same no matter who holds them. It's the flame that makes the difference." That night, as the fire outside flickers low, you can almost imagine Pietro's steady hands dipping wick after wick, the wax forming layers of calm, the rhythm of it, slow, quiet, and timeless. Just like your breathing now, slow, quiet, and timeless. He finishes another candle, sets it beside the others lined up like silent companions. The wax still glows faintly from the heat, soft, golden, alive. He wipes his hands on a linen cloth, looks out the window and sees the last of the sunlight fading behind the dome of the cathedral. He thinks of all the candles that will burn tonight, each one a small defiance against the dark, and quietly whispers to himself, "Every flame remembers the hand that made it." Long before Pietro's time, long before Florence, there was another keeper of light, not of wax and flame, but of words. Her name was Callista. She lived in the ancient city of Alexandria, where the sea met the desert and knowledge gathered like mist over the harbor. The great library stood there, vast and shimmering, filled with scrolls that hummed with stories of every kind. Philosophers, poets, mathematicians, sailors, all came to learn. Callista was one of the quiet ones who kept the scrolls safe. She was not a scholar, she did not lecture or debate. Her hands were ink-stained, her robes worn, but her memory was perfect. She could tell you where any scroll rested, which shelf, which column, which corner of the labyrinth. When the city slept, Callista would stay. She'd walk among the shelves, her lamp flickering like a lonely star. Sometimes she'd read aloud to herself, softly, barely a whisper, lines of poetry in Greek and Egyptian, words of healing, maps of stars. She loved most the stories that no one came to read anymore. Forgotten treatises on wind and shadow, old legends about rain gods and lost islands. She believed that if she kept reading them, the stories would never truly die. And in the silence, she would imagine the authors, men and women who had written thousands of years before her time. She wondered if they could still hear their words echoing through her voice. Sometimes she'd pause, close the scroll, and just listen to the sound of the sea through the stone windows. Waves, wind, and the slow breathing of time itself. The fire before you flickers again, casting little halos of gold. The same kind of light that once touched Callista's scrolls. The same warmth that connects you to her now, through centuries of quiet nights. It was the winter of 1791 in Prague, a city of narrow streets and echoing bells. Josef Marek, the watchmaker, bent over a table covered in gears, springs, and tiny pieces of brass. He was a quiet man, not lonely, just accustomed to silence. Every tick and turn of his craft was a kind of prayer. Joseph's favorite commission was for a small orphanage at the edge of town. The children there had no clock. He promised to build not just a clock, but a gentle one. A clock that would sound like breathing. For weeks he worked through the night. The snow fell heavier, muffling the world in stillness. The only sounds were the ticking of tiny parts and the soft creak of his chair. Finally he finished it. A wooden clock shaped like a small tower, its face painted with stars and clouds. Instead of a sharp chime, he built a bell that rang with the tone of a lullaby, low, round, and kind. When delivered, the children gathered around in awe. They traced the painted stars with their fingers, waiting for it to sing. When it did, the youngest laughed and the older ones simply closed their eyes. Joseph bowed quietly, thinking to himself, "Even time can be gentle if we let it." In Lisbon, in the year 1522, Amara, a young cartographer, mapped oceans she had never seen. She used sailors' stories, fragments of rumor, and her own imagination. She loved the mystery. She believed maps were not about where we go, but about where our minds wander in dreams. One evening, a sailor asked her to draw a map of a city from his dream, a floating city above the clouds. She drew it carefully. Silver spires, drifting bridges, pale blue wind between the buildings. It was never real, yet it survived. For centuries, people copied it, and it brought comfort, guiding imaginations into calm wonder. In the Song dynasty Kaifeng, Wei Lin played the xiao for the emperor. His music was not loud or grand. It was soft like wind through pine, like water flowing. Each night it lulled the emperor into peaceful sleep. Even as dynasties shifted, Leon's music lingered, a gentle bridge between waking and dreaming. Sometimes, centuries later, people said they could hear a faint flute echoing across empty palace gardens, a reminder that peace can exist quietly, in soft notes carried on the air. Etienne Moreau of Arles painted the dust itself, the forgotten traces of the world. He captured movement, memory, and quiet in swirls of gray and gold. His art was too subtle for most, but those who lingered before it felt calmer, lighter, slower. Even after his passing, the dust he painted seemed to settle gently into the minds of those who gazed upon it. A reminder that calm can be drawn from the smallest, quietest things. Isabella, daughter of Don Raphael in Granada, carried her father's telescope and the memory of his teachings. She learned to see not only the stars above, but the quiet moments of life below. Her sketches and drawings captured the feeling of constellations rather than their forms, giving sailors, dreamers, and wanderers a way to rest and imagine. The heavens, she realized, were never finished. They simply moved closer to the heart. Elias, in a small village, walked among sleeping children and adults, humming softly, guiding dreams safely through the night. He reminded us that dreams are fragile threads that connect the past to the future. Even when he was gone, his quiet presence lingered, carrying sleep gently to those who needed it most. The fire now is nothing but warmth, memory, and quiet light in your mind. Your thoughts drift softly. Your breathing is slow, steady, complete. All the stories, Florence, Alexandria, Prague, Lisbon, Kaifeng, Arles, Granada, and the village, merge into a single river of calm. Rowan's voice folds around you one last time. Let every thought fall gently. Let every worry float away. Let the warmth of history, memory, and dreams carry you. You are safe, you are calm, you are ready. Sleep now. Drift as softly as a lantern on water, as silently as a star behind clouds. Good night. The world is still. The night is endless. And you are finally at rest.